Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. All right, well, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us today at our Lunch and Learn. I am Napoleon Bell. I'm the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas General Division. And on behalf of the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas General Division, I would like to thank each of you for being here as we explore one of the court's most impactful and life-changing initiatives, being our specialty dockets. You know, when many people think of the court system, they think only of the trials, the convictions, and sentencing. But today's discussion highlights another important side of justice, and that's one that focuses on accountability, treatment, recovery, and creating opportunities for lasting change. Now, our specialty dockets recognize that some individuals who enter the justice systems are facing significant challenges, including substance use disorders, mental health concerns, or other circumstances that contribute to their involvement in the criminal justice system. Rather than addressing only the offense, these programs work to address the underlying issues while holding participants accountable and providing them the tools and support needed to rebuild their lives. So today, we have the privilege of hearing from leaders who make this work possible every day, as well as the individuals whose lives have been transformed through these programs. So please join me in welcoming our distinguished panelists at this time, Judge Cheryl Munson, Judge Stephen McIntosh, and Gwen Jackson, who is the program leader of the Catch Court. So please put your hands together for them. Now, later in the discussion, you'll also hear directly from the specialty dockets graduates. Their stories are the heart of today's program. They will share their personal journeys, the challenges they face, the hard work they require to complete the program, and what life looks like today because they chose to embrace change. Their experiences remind us behind every case is a person, and behind every successful graduate is a story of resilience, determination, and hope. So I encourage everyone to listen with an open mind and to think about the broader impact of these programs that they have, and not only on the individuals who participate, but on their families, our neighborhoods, and our community as a whole. At the conclusion of the discussion, we'll have time for questions from the audience, so I encourage you to think about what you'd like to ask our panelists and our graduates. So thanks again for joining us today, and we'll begin our questions of our esteemed panelists. So, let me just turn to any one of you who would like to begin this. So for those who are unfamiliar with the specialty dockets, because I know many people here are familiar with it, but we are live streaming today, so others in the audience in the community might not be familiar with what a specialty docket is. And how would you describe their purpose and what makes them different from the traditional court process?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank the probation department and all the support that we get from officers making referrals to the TIES program. And so we appreciate your evaluating certain people and deciding that maybe TIES is exactly what they need at this particular time. But the biggest difference between a specialty docket and cases that I handle on my regular docket, as most of you know, if someone appears in front of me today and I sentence them to community control, many of those folks I'm not likely to see unless they're coming back in front of me for a revocation hearing. Persons that have been identified and placed on the TIES docket, if they enter a plea today, then it's likely that I'm going to see them again within about a week or two. And then I'll have the opportunity to interact with them weekly when they're in phase 1 of the program, bi-weekly when they're in phase 2, and monthly when they're in phases 3 and 4 of the program. And so the biggest difference is that folks that end up on my regular docket, unless there's a particular reason why I'm having them come back to see me, I'm not having that type of interaction. And the positive thing about it is that every week I'm having opportunities to have conversations with them about hopefully their successes, but also having conversations about their challenges as well. I can be a cheerleader with some weeks, and then other weeks I'm just getting real serious with them about the things that they need to work on and change. And while it takes a little time for some of them to kind of get used to that routine, as they begin to get used to the routine of seeing me, of having those conversations weekly, I think the process then begins to start clicking with them about the things that they need to work on and the things that they need to do to change.
Thank you, Judge Orr.
Hi, I'm Gwen Jackson. It's great to be with you guys. I actually live over next door in Muni Court, so it's always a joy to come over to Felony Land. You know, when I talk about the work that we do in catch and specialized dockets in general, I like to kind of like set the stage and remind people why specialized dockets were created. So, you know, there are sort of revolving doors of different populations that just show up in the system over and over again. And after so many decades of this happening, some people were like, I wonder if we need to do something different for these people that have this specific issue. A great example of this is substance use disorder, right? So the idea behind specialized dockets is really like they're only showing up repeatedly because of this issue. And if we treat the issue, then maybe the criminology, the criminogenic stuff that's happening behind it will cease to happen, right? And so that's kind of how specialized dockets were birthed. So it's really this sort of collaborative, non-adversarial approach to justice, as opposed to the adversarial approach that the traditional justice system operates in, right? There's something called multidisciplinary teams where everybody has a role and we're all working together for the common good of this client being able to recover and sustain recovery long after they're out of the court system. So looking at those vulnerabilities, those criminogenic needs, the risk factors that have brought them into the system, and addressing those in a holistic manner that really meets the needs of clients individually.
Yeah, and Judge Munson here, and I have the RISE docket, which is a mental health docket. I also am starting the RENEW program, which will be a reentry specialized docket as well. But the one thing I really want to message on about the importance of specialized dockets is you know, a lot of folks in the community, you know, there's criticism that, you know, people aren't being held accountable or they're not being punished. And the fact of the matter is that virtually almost everybody in the system, whether incarcerated or on probation, they're coming back to your community, all right? The question is, how do you want them to come back to your community? First of all, I mean, I believe, and I know fellow panelists believe that, you know, human dignity requires that we serve people and get them better. But at the same time, they're coming home. So how do you want them to come home? You want them to come home restored with support, accountability, services, housing, all of the things that they need to be productive and successful in the community. And so it's so important that we restore folks, and the specialized docket is just an extra layer that really allows us to do that restoration work.
Thank you for that. So we talked about people going through the program. How do you determine whether someone's appropriate, who's an appropriate candidate for participation in the specialty dockets? How is that determined in each area?
I'll start with that. And with Judge McIntosh, because our specialty dockets are here in Common Pleas Court. His is substance use, mine is mental health. So we might have a participant that might be screening for both dockets. But then you have to ask yourself, what is the motivating factor in their touching the criminal justice system again and again? Is it primarily substance use? Is it primarily mental health? And those co-occur, exist at the same time very often. So we do have to make those distinguishing decisions between dockets. Judge McIntosh has an amazing coordinator. I have an amazing coordinator and treatment teams that look at those things and make those decisions. But for the mental health docket, you have to have a serious mental health diagnosis, and you have to be involved in the system due to that. Also, for my docket, we're not talking about first or second time offenders. These are folks. My docket is a prison diversion docket. These are folks who even other judges in the courthouse are saying, I don't want to incarcerate this person. I know they are motivated by a mental health issue, but I don't know what else to do to help them and to protect the community. And those are the folks that hopefully get an opportunity to join my docket, to join Judge McIntosh's docket, to join Gwen's docket, to intervene, to keep them out of the incarceration system, and to obviously re-enter the community.
And I agree with Judge Munson in terms of my docket is not for first-time drug users. You know, the person that comes in with their first felony 5 gets referred to ties. Because of the intensive nature of our program, everyone that we have tends to be at fairly high risk. People that have been in and out of prison many times, multiple times. People that have been in and out of treatment programs multiple times. And we're getting referrals from judges that have decided, look, we've taken them as far as we can on regular probation. Let's see if a more intensive probation with ties is something that would help them to be successful. Or, you know, this is really someone that I don't want to send to prison. Drugs is clearly the issue that keeps them coming back. Let's, again, see if placing them on the ties docket is something that can get them moving in the right direction and then hopefully successfully back out into the community.
Yeah, for Catch Court, it's a little bit different. So for those of you who are not familiar, Catch is actually a specialized docket that's designated. It's gender specific for people who identify as women and who have engaged in the sex trade. Most of them meet the legal framework to be considered a survivor of human trafficking. For them to be able to exit a life of exploitation and sex work. So for our specialized docket, we accept both common pleas and municipal cases into our specialized docket. The primary thing for us is they have to have involvement in the sex trade and want to exit. We do not require that they prove exploitation upon screening. That's a really hard thing to prove right off the jump. So just to simplify sort of eligibility processes and make it a little bit more clear, they have to have current involvement in the sex trade and want to exit. They have to have a diagnosed substance use disorder, and they have to qualify on our risk needs assessment as high risk, high need. So that's kind of a staple for certified specialized dockets as deemed by the Ohio Supreme Court and all best practices through the country through All Rise, which is one of our governing bodies. Specialized dockets are really created to meet the unique needs of people who are high risk, high need. So people who aren't meeting that threshold typically aren't a great fit. So that's one of our requirements as well.
All right, so I'm hearing all this work is being done, but I'm sure you don't do it alone, and that you rely on key partners and collaborate. Could you speak a little bit about those that you collaborate with to really assess and help provide success for those going through the program?
So we're really blessed in Franklin County to have fantastic providers. I can't rave about that enough. So we have, of course, treatment providers that we work with that are kind of vetted. We want to make sure that they have a certain level of expertise and knowledge and skill level to be able to deal with the trauma that kind of comes along with the population that we serve. But outside of that, we have a nonprofit partner called Freedom a la carte, which I want to plug because they're incredible. So if you haven't heard of Freedom a la carte, it's a social enterprise. They have a cafe downtown on East Spring Street, fantastic food. But they hire women in their workforce development program who are exiting the life to kind of teach them job skills. They provide mentorship for all the women in Catch. They provide us lunch every week so that we can have community and build relationships within the docket. That's kind of the secret sauce of Catch, is the community that we've been able to build. And Freedom is a huge, huge part of that. So yeah, I think addiction treatment and then also just Common Pleas partnership with Municipal is really huge as well. But the Freedom a la carte plug is the main thing.
I just want to make a special plug for CBCF. CBCF, some of our residents are in the house. First of all, I'd like to welcome them. It's important, and this is what I love about CBCF, that they brought these gentlemen here today because they belong in these spaces. They should be here. They should be part of these conversations, and I'm so grateful that CBCF sees that. You're going to hear a little bit more about why I love CBCF so much when you hear from my graduate, but and I know CBCF does this for ties as well. We have some folks who we're not incarcerating them in a state institution, but there has to be a little higher level of accountability. We would like a lockdown facility where they're focusing on programming and reentry needs. And so CBCF collaborates with us, with RISE and with TIES, and brings those folks to the status review hearings so they can actively and meaningfully participate in our dockets even though they're in a residential lockdown facility. And CBCF also, for instance, RISE, we have an annual cookout. They bring the guys that are on my RISE docket to that cookout to allow them participate. Other events, I saw in Dustin, you're going to hear from Dustin. Dustin brought some residents of CBCF to the Harmony Project show that was just at the Commons, and allows them to be involved in the community, and they really make that work for RISE and TIES, and that's been a really important partnership.
You know, every person that gets evaluated from TIES, we get together as a treatment team, and that's where the community comes in. I mean, just a wide variety of agencies in the community that provide just a wide variety of services. And as I tell all of the persons that we're having a conversation with about whether or not they're interested in doing TIES, I tell them all that we're coming up with a program for you. You know, this isn't a program that everyone does exactly the same thing the same way. And so it's with those professionals in the community along with our probation officer, Lynette, and our administrator, Marquita, we're trying to figure out. So some people, we may decide, you know what, CBCF is exactly where they need to go. We utilize an agency in Dayton. Sometimes we determine we need to get this person out of Franklin County. And so we'll send them down to Dayton. We'll use the center down in Portsmouth as well. But we're trying to figure out what is going to help this person be successful. And the thing that I like about our community partners, it's not like Mary Haven is saying bring everyone to us, or Guidestone is saying bring everyone to us. There are times that some of those agencies will say, you know what, this other agency has better tools for this individual than we would. And so we really are just trying to fit the person where we think their needs are at this particular time. And whether that's in outpatient, inpatient, where they can be at home, or we're looking at sober living situation, we're really trying to model it in a way that hopefully is most effective for them to be successful.
So let me change gears here just a little bit to all of you individually. What inspired you? I mean, you didn't have to take on specialty dockets. You didn't have to, wasn't something that you had to do. What inspired you to do this, to be a part of this, to lead these different specialty dockets?
Well, I'll start. You know, when I first got on the bench, it was real eye-opening to me, the needs of the people that were coming in front of me. And so, you know, as I started having my first few dispo days and I was sentencing people, and I was sitting there thinking, okay, this person really looks like someone that's going to have a difficult time. And so that's when I started at least identifying people on my docket that I wanted to see back so that I could figure out, okay, you know, 3 months from now, how has this person adjusted to community control? Are there things that we need to do differently? If they're not doing well, or if they're doing well, at least acknowledging to them, hey, your adjustment has been well, things are going well. Very pleased with how you've adjusted to community control. So kind of early on, looking at sort of the needs of the people that come in front of me. When Judge Sheeran became the TIES court judge, and we were sharing chambers, and he asked me if I'd kind of be his backup, I was more than willing to do that. And having the opportunity to be able to hopefully make this kind of difference in people's lives is part of the motivation as well, that I can touch them weekly and be able to hopefully help them make the changes that they're trying to make. And so that's the thing that continue motivates me. And you will hear me say all the time, I say this all the time, that the one thing I love about this job is that each and every day it gives me an opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. And while I may not do it every day, at least having that opportunity is what motivates me to continue doing the things that I'm doing.
For me, I kind of fell into it accidentally. I graduated undergrad and was like, I need a job. And so I got a job at a halfway house. And then I started facilitating the groups at the Women's Halfway House. And I was like, man, these ladies with trauma history and addiction coming from prison, those are my people. So I just really fell in love with the work. I just saw so much goodness in these women, and they truly are my people. I just believe in them so much, and I love justice. I have 2 master's degrees in different justice fields, and so I think like the marrying of being able to work with a population that I love, but also be a part of restorative justice in the criminal legal system is just my jam. So yeah, I got the best job in the world.
I'll say so, but prior to taking the bench, I was first elected in 2020. Prior to that, I was a Franklin County Public Defender for 26 years. So of course, I had many, many clients that were returning to the system again and again due to mental health issues. And you know, the law is fairly rigid in outs or ways to deal with folks with mental health issue. There's a competency issue, but if you basically understand what's going on and can have a conversation with your lawyer, they're going to find that you're competent. The idea of somebody being found not guilty by reason of insanity, minimal. It's a very difficult standard, and it's rarely met. So that leaves a whole other population of people who are still in the system due to mental health issues that don't have something for them. And we know in this country that we have more folks with mental health issues being housed in jails and prisons than in residential treatment facilities. And that, you know, is a problem with humane treatment as far as I'm concerned. And so I created the RISE docket for those folks who are coming again and again. And you know, Gwen mentions trauma in all of our populations. It's trauma-based almost exclusively. I mean, there are obviously mental health issues that are independent of trauma, but trauma obviously exacerbates that, has prevented them from getting meaningful treatment. Obviously substance use, obviously being exploited and trafficked, all of those things are so trauma-based. And having represented folks for 26 years, you know, what that is about is having conversations with them, getting to know them as an individual, not identifying them by what they did or allegedly did, advocating for them, that they have worth as a human being and they are worth saving. And so I just really wanted to focus that on the mental health population, because it's just a travesty how many of them are just being incarcerated again and again rather than helped.
Thank you. So, you know, we've talked about kind of the process and those who you would onboard, but what does, you know, some people think that success is graduating, but what does success look like to you, you know, as the leader of the particular programs? And in your perspective, what does success truly look like in a participant?
So I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I am going to talk about Dustin Starkey, who is my graduate, and is going to, he's alarmed that I'm getting ready to talk about success is, Dustin Starkey is success, right? And first of all, let me say this. Success is different for every individual that comes through the docket. There may be folks that are graduating with employment and education and all of those things in place. There may be people graduating that just have become compliant with medication, are not using illegal substances, have a place to stay, and are happy and not reoffending, right? We have different expectations. So success does not look the same for everyone, first of all. Second of all, though, Dustin is here as a shining example. So when I first talked about the collaboration with CBCF, Dustin was a resident at CBCF when he joined my RISE docket, and someone brought him in belly chains to my courtroom for status review hearings. And I'm going to let him tell his story, but I'll point out to you today, he's here working with CBCF and escorting these fine gentlemen into the community. So he's now a peer supporter. I'm going to stop ruining his story. But that is success. I mean, and you will find with so many of these folks that are getting help through the specialty docket, the next thing they say is, how can I give back? And they're coming back as mentors and peer supporters and doing things like showing up today to talk to you guys and educate you about these things. So I would just point out that success is very different and very individualized. But at the end of the day, it's about improving their quality of life and making them safer and productive members of the community.
I love her answer. Yeah, I get a little bit crazy when people are so focused on like recidivism rates, because I know a number of women who have not picked up a new criminal charge but are homeless on Sullivan Avenue using substances every day. And to me, that is not success. They might have graduated a program, they may not have picked up a new legal situation, but they are not well. And they are not thriving, and they are not pursuing their dreams, and they do not see themselves as worth anything. And that to me is like heartbreaking. So I think in Catch, we really try to reframe how we view success. Is graduation numbers great? Sure. But on the flip side of that, there's lots of women that didn't successfully complete Catch, and they're crushing it in life. So it's like, what actually is the goal, right? The goal is for somebody to be able to exit the situations and the vulnerabilities and the problems that have led them into the criminal legal system, and to be able to sustain a life that they can successfully navigate and thrive. So that's how we kind of like lock in on success. When women come into our program, we have them write out goals, why they came into the program, what they hope to get out of the program, what they want for their life, for their family, for their recovery. And that's their guiding map. And if they use that as their guiding map and they reach those end goals, I don't care if they graduate Catch. I don't care. They're still a success to me. So I think being more holistic about how we view that and how we approach it is really important, especially in specialized dockets. So yeah, recidivism, schmidtivism.
Yeah, yes, I mean, the ultimate goal is to try to get people to graduate from the program. And sometimes that doesn't happen for a variety of reasons, where people fall short. I mean, sometimes it's because their 5 years have run out. When they were referred to the TIES program, maybe they only had 2 more years left on their supervision. But we've had people that have not graduated from the program that have come back and talked about how the tools that they learned in the TIES program, that they were able to apply those tools, and that they're doing well, that they're working, that they're no longer using. And so that's the bottom line. While yes, it would be great to have everyone successfully complete the program, that doesn't happen sometimes, but there are a lot of folks that have not, well, not a lot of, because there are some folks that have not, but are doing extremely well. Because I mean, ultimately our goal in getting folks to graduate from the program is them having a job that they can sustain themselves with. You know, not working under the table and getting some cash, but actually jobs that offer promotions, that offer vacation. And we've had a lot of people be able to do that. Stable housing, obviously, and having the ability to afford their own place to live. And so that's the ideal situation for everyone leaving the program. Everyone doesn't necessarily leave the program at that point, but if they've picked up the tools that they have during the time that we've been able to be with them, most people, it's about 2 years to get through TIES, even though if you do everything absolutely correctly, you can get through the program in about 1.5 years. but for most it's about 2 years for them to get through the program. And because of the fact that we do have that opportunity to spend that much time with them, many of them do pick up the tools that they need to be successful.
Thank you for that. So, you know, all of you have been in this work a long time, and some might feel as though, you know, what are specialty dockets, or what is the misconceptions that you have heard or that you know are out there about specialty dockets, and what would you like to say to them to help them better understand what about specialty dockets?
I mean, word on the street is that get out of jail free card, which I 100% disagree with. Yeah, I think that it speaks to the sort of accountability argument, you know, that we hear a lot, like, oh, we're being soft on crime. But I think how Judge Munson opened this panel discussion was beautifully said. You know, I think accountability is a huge part of specialized dockets. It's just coupled with things that are actually going to change lives, which is really vital if we want a safe community. Just incarcerating, I mean, we have so much research on what just incarcerating people repeatedly does to their mental and physical well-being. So I think that's what I would say.
And I'll just say, as a adding to that is, you know, obviously there are some folks that have to be incarcerated. There are community safety concerns, 100%. Nobody here disagrees with that. But again, most of these folks are coming home. Most of them are coming off probation, and we need to make change. We cannot incarcerate ourselves out of the problems that people see related to crime in the U.S. We simply can't. It's a quality of life issue. And if we improve the quality of life of those individuals and take away the motivation for behaving in a criminal fashion, we improve their lives, which is something we should always be doing, and we improve the safety of the community. And so, and sometimes you'll get, there's some cynicism, of course, because we're very encouraging on specialty dockets. If somebody comes in and they've gotten their driver's license, we will applaud that. And you'll hear people make jokes about, oh, you're just clapping and, you know, passing out cookies or whatever jokes they want to make about this. But we're talking about folks that maybe never had anyone acknowledge a positive accomplishment before. So yes, we are clapping for them, and it matters to them. I promise you, it matters to them. They've gotten their driver's license for the first time. They've gotten a job. They have maintained sobriety. They've done these things, and they deserve to be recognized just as we all did. You know, some of these folks have never had someone attend a graduation. They never had a parent show up at an 8th grade art show. They never had that positive reinforcement, and they deserve it, and they respond to it. That's the thing. We know that they respond to it. If they believe that people care about what happens to them, if they believe their judge, their coordinator, their probation officer believe in them and want them to be successful, they are far more likely to buy into the system. They're far more likely to comply. They're far more likely to do what they need to do and to not reoffend.
Well, for the POs in the office and the audience, I mean, many of you know how excited the persons that you have on supervision are to come see you every month. So you know how excited the people are to see me weekly. And so a misconception is that we're somehow taking it a little bit easier on these individuals that accepted into these dockets, not realizing that we're actually putting even more structure on them than doing regular supervision. And so sometimes, I mean, I've been fortunate, I've not met a whole lot of people that have had pushback on specialty dockets, but those that do sometimes just think that we're sort of enabling people without having any real information about the things that we do.
Thank you. So let me get one last question. If you could share one message with someone who is just beginning with the specialty docket journey or with their family members, what would that message be?
Well, the message that I give to everyone who's willing to do ties. I mean, I brought our handbook, and this is given to everyone that Marquita interviews, because we don't want to hide anything from them about how intense the program is and what their requirements will be. And so I just tell everyone, be patient with us, because this is new to a lot of people when we start talking about dealing with trauma, when we start talking about learning job skills. I mean, we have a program, Onionomics, that talks about helping people sort of understand money and their relationship to money. And so a lot of this is new. And I tell them, be patient with us, because we're going to be asking a lot of them. And they don't relate to a lot of the things that we're asking of them. And I tell them all the time, there is a reason why we're asking you to do everything in the book. Because if you do everything that we're asking you to do, then you receive the benefits of everything that we're asking you to do. And that will give you a greater chance of being successful once you leave the program. And then I tell them all, okay, and it's not about completing a program, because we know that this is a lifestyle change, and that's hard for everyone, making a lifestyle change. And so just trying to prepare them for the journey and knowing that this is not a quick fix, that this is not something that's going to happen overnight, and it's going to require a lot of work from them. And so many of the participants, when they get time to graduation, think, they're thanking me and I always tell them, it's not about me, it's the hard work that you have put in. And so, but at the beginning, it looks like a mountain to them that's hard to climb, and I'm trying to just make sure that they understand that this is a mountain that they can climb.
And I would just, Judge McIntosh said it very well. I'll just add that I would suggest to them that you just be open to doing things differently, because the same old produces the same old. And also, and I suggest this to them, but trust is earned and not granted. But I do ask them, to trust us, that we're here about your success. Now we have to prove that too, right? Because people can say that to folks, but until you continue to treat them with dignity and respect and honor who they are, it's difficult for them to trust, particularly if they've been in the system where they have felt betrayed before. So try to get them to trust, try to get them to do things differently. But as Judge McIntosh said, we can give you the resources and we can give you the support, but you're the one that's going to have to do that heavy lifting and take advantage of that, and just be ready to do that.
I think for the work we do in Catch, there is a strong focus on belonging. And I really, really try to emphasize belonging and authenticity. I think the legal system is scary. And I think that especially people who have, it is not uncommon for people to get to our program. They're like, I've been on probation since I was 16, never been off. And it's like, so you know how this works, right? They oftentimes have such a deeply embedded, what they think is an understanding of how this is going to go. And I think right from jump, I want to name, it might be scary to tell us that you're struggling because you think we might arrest you, or we might put restrictions on you, or we might have some intervention that's uncomfortable for you. That's not our goal. We want you to be able to come to us and say, hey, on my home pass, I picked up. And I'm not going to test positive for it because I didn't test in the past 3 days, but I want you to know that because I don't want to keep on this. I need help stopping. I want them to be able to say that. So I'm really, really clear up front. Our goal is to keep you out of jail, not to put you in jail. But we can only do that if you show up and you're honest. And I think people are only willing to show up and be honest if they have a sense of belonging, if they have a sense of, you see me and you value me, even with all of my baggage and all of my struggles and all of my record, right? I still feel seen and valued by you. And so that is like first conversation, we're jumping off right there.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank the three of you for all that information, and but also coming from your heart. But at this point, we want to shift gears a little bit. You know, we've been talking about the programs, but we want to talk to the graduates. So if you three could move down 2 seats, and if our graduates could come up here and sit in these 2 seats up here. And join us, and so I would like to introduce Mr. Dustin Starkey to the dais here, and then also, correct me if I'm Shayla Robertson. All right, and Shayla, very good. Well, welcome to the program, and so looking forward to hearing both of your stories. But I'm going to start something off with a couple questions, but feel free, if you want to expand and go into your story, please feel free to do that. Right. So starting off with the first question, you know, before entering the specialty DACA program, what were some of the biggest challenges that you were facing in your life?
I'll go first. For me, my biggest challenge was addiction. I'd always end up right back where I was. That cycle would repeat. And I'd always be like living in the same situation I was in, whether it be with family or just people on the streets that I knew. So, yeah, that was my biggest barrier, was just, you know, getting through that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like already loud.
You're all right.
I wrote my answers down, so I'm going to read them. Sorry. My biggest challenge, I feel like I was just trying to survive day to day. I had lost stability, trust, and hope, and I didn't know how to ask for help. I don't want to keep saying I knew deep down that I wanted more for myself, but at the time I just didn't know how to ask for it. So I think like being able to say that I needed help was a challenge.
Okay, that ability to say you needed help. And so then what led both of you then to the specialty DACA program? Did you hear about it, or did you, you know, and says, hey, that's what I need? Either one of you.
For me, yeah, so before I got incarcerated this last time around, I had maybe 6-7 months of clean time under my belt, and then fell off the wagon. And I was just really just battling mentally with myself because I was upset, right? Here I am, strung out again, rock bottom, and I wanted my sobriety back. I wanted what I was working towards back. And Vince Watkins was the public defender I got whenever I went into when I got incarcerated, and he could tell I seen something in myself finally. I believed that I could do this, and when I started throwing out names like Judge Munson and Shannon Bradshaw and asking for rise, he worked for me. He actually went and talked to him and made it happen for me. So yeah, I'm just blessed to be able to for her to accept me, because if you would have paid attention to the paperwork, I didn't qualify.
For me, when I heard about Catch, I wanted to participate because of the support that that they gave to like the women. I was in jail, and these girls were going to like the class that because Gwen and them come to the jail. They were going to this class, and they would come back and they would talk about it like, oh, I can't wait to get out of here to do Catch stuff and things like that. And then I heard, and I was like, At first, I was scared because of all the like stipulations and rules and guidelines, and I was like, there's no way that I'll be able to like stay on path with it. But I mainly wanted to participate for the support.
So what were those challenges? So when you got into the program, right? And it's not an easy program, that's what I'm understanding. What were those challenges that you saw in the program, and then also after you saw them, how did you overcome those challenges when you were in the program?
For me, like when I was in addiction, there was like no structure whatsoever. So just showing up on time, just just being there, staying sober, and being accountable. I always use drugs to like cope with my mental health. So like, I had like this freak out thing, like, oh, if I don't have this, then I'm gonna lose it. And but to just be patient and just let everything happen. I mean, I learned I didn't need any of it. Yeah. I hope I answered.
Oh, you all right? You all right? Yeah. Yeah.
I'll say that the most difficult part of my journey, I believe, is like starting completely over, and not just like obtaining a house or a car. It was starting over with a clear mind, so that I would have to face like everyday challenges without any mood altering substances or anything like that. It was the fact that like I get to feel what's going on now and I can't go mask it. So that was like one of my biggest challenges.
Okay. And so when, okay.
My bad. For me too was like housing. So while I was in the program, I just needed to get out of my current situation that I was in, living with family. Just some toxic behavior going on. Rise ended up helping me with housing. They got me housing through Arch, and that was one of the biggest accomplishments I had while I was on the dock, was just being independent. There's something empowering about that. You know what I mean? And yeah.
Yeah, so you talked about the toxic environment at home, and I want to ask both of you, and this isn't one of the questions, we think about people that are in your situations. How does that environment play into who you are at that time, right? And you said, well, I had to get out of this. So how did your environment at the time prior to going into the program play into who you were at the time?
I believe that, like, I was in active addiction, obviously, and I feel like I was in survival mode at all times. So my surroundings weren't safe at all. You just always have to look over your shoulder. So coming from being like that to safety, and you don't have to worry about those things, it's different. It's a different feeling.
And for me, like I recognize where I was in sobriety when I first started the program, still living with the same people that I've been in addiction with, and I recognized where like just triggers started happening, and I was worried about going back into it and relapsing, and just because I needed to get away from them. I can love them still, and I still see them all the time. It's family, right? But I don't have to. I don't know. It's just different, now. If I need to leave, I can leave. I got my own place now, and yeah.
Yeah. Getting away from it sounds like that's a primary piece to your success. So when you're in the program and you're going through this rigorous program, when did you start to see, or what was the thing where you're like, hey, this is actually working, right? When did that light bulb come on and says, this, I'm in the right place?
For me, I had like guys on the docket that I hung out with, and we would go to church together, and we would just kind of talk amongst each other and just try to just help each other out. It wasn't always about just hey, I'll see you when we go to court. We were trying to hang out outside of that, and just holding each other accountable and growing together. You know what I mean? When I hit like the 6-month mark sobriety and then a year sobriety, I knew something was working for sure. And it all started with just being accountable for not just substance use, but for my thoughts. When I start getting them bad thoughts, I got to be accountable for that, right? I got to interrupt them thoughts and with something. And for me, it was my faith in God. That's what got me sober and kept me sober, was just believing that I was reborn again and die to self daily.
All right. Shayla?
For me, I would say a moment that I realized things were changing when my son started saying he was proud of me. And it was like it was like the role switch where he was being my support, you know what I mean? And like when things started getting rough and I'm like, what am I doing this for? I feel like my son like sticking by me through this whole entire thing. Yeah, and I don't want to cry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Totally understand. So, with the specialty docket, though, how did it help you develop the skills that you have now to continue that benefit you today? How did they help you develop those skills?
It helped me just so my probation officer would give me like these little things every time I come into the office, homework basically, and it just kind of helped me refresh things like that I've already like learned in CBCF before because I've been there 4 times. Just but it's always good to get that refresher, right? Just keep your wheels turning, and just overall, just coming in there and being honest about things. You know, it doesn't always have to be like a perfect week. Sometimes you can have bad weeks, and just being able to have a space where we could talk to them and trust that they're not going to judge us or lock us up for it. It felt like family in the courtroom, honestly. Like, I looked forward to going to court, whereas, before it would have been a burden. Like, oh, I got to go to court. It was more like I get to go to court.
Very good.
For me, I would say the accountability part. I think time management for me is because I struggle with that. So having to be here every week, same time, every week. I don't know. It changed some stuff. Like I'm not late to work anymore. Yeah, like time management for me. Also, I would say, just like I said before, asking for help. Like I struggle with that, like really bad, because I've always been on my own. So it's like accepting the support and the help of them, like, because there's a lot. Like Catch Court does a lot. Yeah, I don't know, just being able to help somebody else. Like I feel like I learned that just being of service to somebody else other than myself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, with that question also, or with that answer, kind of piggybacking on that, do you find yourself now mentoring others and directing them to, says, hey, I know where you can get help?
Absolutely. I currently, I work at 2 treatment centers right now. I'm a behavioral tech for one and an activity coordinator, and then at the other one, I'm a behavioral tech as well. I took a break after I got out of treatment. I didn't want to just go straight into working into treatment. I was like treatment out. But somehow, some way, I accidentally got a job there. And I love it. Like, it's the fact of like being on the other side. So like when you see these clients that come in and they're just like broken, and you're like, a lot of the clients, okay, I show them my mugshot a lot, and they never believe me. And I'm like, no, seriously, like I have to like really tell them, like, I was on drugs too, like I promise, look. And they're just like, no way. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, everyone's rock bottom looks different, but I always try to relate with them and let them know, like, I'm one of you guys too. So, and it's possible.
Yeah, possibilities.
Absolutely. I love just trying to help other people out that I know. I recognize a little bit of me in them, right? Like from when I was in it, and just being there for them to ask questions if they're curious, or just being the example and just showing them like, hey man, like in the mugshot thing, I pulled up all of my mugshots, which is like a whole page, and it showed them to them, and I'm like, yeah, and it's like, yeah, you could tell each one was a different rock bottom, you know what I mean? But yeah, just being in the field and just trying to be the example is a great thing, you know what I mean? Just try to help guys out. So it's a calling.
Yeah, I love that phrase, a different rock bottom, right? So with the program and everything that you've gone through, there's been many accomplishments. And so what accomplishment are you most proud of?
For me, it's my greatest accomplishment is just finding God, giving myself to Him, surrendering, and just allowing God to work through my life. Since then, I've been to LA on a short-term missions trip with the Dream Center that a lot of people in the courthouse helped me get there. I fundraised $1,300 to go with the Dream Center. I got a job at the last place I was incarcerated at CBCF. Got my peer support certification. Yeah, I'm just. And I got married and I got a kid on the way.
Right.
Some accomplishments that I have mainly is that like Gwen has stated that we set goals in Catch Court. And I remember when I first got to treatment, I made a vision board. So I had my short-term goals, intermediate, and long-term goals. And since then, which it's been 3 years, I've crossed off everything on my list, on my whole vision board, everything. Thanks. I also, I own 2 businesses that are efficient and running and doing great. And I just recently moved into my own place 2 weeks ago, I believe. Yeah, I have my own car. I work. I take care of me. Yeah, I pretty much have accomplished everything, and
right.
still staying sober.
All right. Very good. Well, that kind of leads into my next question then. Although you mentioned, you've reached all these milestones, but I guess part of the program talks about goals and goal setting. So in the next 3 to 5 years, what are the goals that you have set for yourself?
3 to 5 years. So I just want to be a good father. I want to be a present father. I don't want to take on too much and take away from my kid. I would love to go to school, go to college or something, and maybe get a degree sometime. But right now, I want to be the best father that I can be, and be present.
Love that. Yes.
For me, in 3 to 5 years, I would like to have my own rehab. I would like to be able to be partnered with Catch Court so I could provide some of the same services that were provided to me. In 3 to 5 years, Catch Court is still going to be around, of course. Yeah, I just want to give back all the things that were given to me.
All right. So at this time, I also want to just give the both of you the opportunity, if we missed something or if you want to tell a little bit about your story, I want to give you the opportunity to do that, to talk to those watching and those here in the audience.
For me, as many felonies, I have 15 convicted felonies, and every time I'd catch one and I'd get locked up and I'd go to prison or something would happen, there was no follow up or nothing like how Rise provided, how they were saying you get them back, see how they're doing. It was just kind of oh, we're going to sentence you and you're off to the next location. So for me, especially Docket played a huge part in my recovery. Just showing up and just celebrating them small things, right? It was beautiful, just clapping for everybody, be able to talk to everybody. It was like a little community. I think it's definitely the reason why everything worked out for me. I think it's the reason why I am today, who I am today, is because of that first opportunity, and then to prove it, to prove it to everyone.
Like what you said about proving it to everyone, I know that a lot of people, they look up to me now. And I know my journey and my story motivates them to want to be sober as well. And maybe they can they see me and they feel like, I did it, so maybe they can as well. I never pass up a moment to tell someone I'm in recovery. Cause my world now today exists of people in recovery. I changed everything, so I hang out with a bunch of me's all the time. So, and I'm fine with that. That's my family. I'm cool with that. I don't know. I think something that I would say to people that are watching are you just gotta, I don't know, you gotta take the step. You won't know if it won't work for you if you don't try it, you can be on the outside and you're like, man, I really want to get clean. I really want to be sober. I really want these things. I really want these things. Well, you don't know if you're not able to get those things if you don't try to get those things. If that makes sense. I think I struggle with stuff like that because I've always been on my own to be able to provide for myself. So getting out of jail and not having nothing and literally relying on everyone around me. And I can honestly say, like, I didn't struggle. I didn't feel like I didn't belong. Down to lashes, down to anything. Like, catch court has been there. So I don't know. I'm blessed that I belong to a community like them. Because even though I've graduated and I don't like have to come to court or anything like that, I pop up every now and again. And then like I remain in the group chat for a reason. So, and the girls reach out to me often. Rather it's just to be like, hey, you know, I see you doing good or whatever, but I do the same thing for them. So I'm just happy that I call that place home.
Yeah. Dustin, Shayla, thank you for letting us hear your journey and be a part of your journey. We appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for great job, great job. So at this point in time, though, I'd like to turn to the audience. Do you have any questions of our award, not awardees, but our graduates and or of our judges? And I can come out and grab a mic and come out and have you ask. Okay, let me grab this mic. And again, I'm going to do the Phil Donahue thing. All right, let's see. There we go. All right, here you go.
So seeing the success that Rise and Ties and Catch have had, what other areas do you see that could be beneficial for having specialty dockets that there's not currently one that exists?
Good question.
I think it could be like teaching, showing people that like court isn't about like punishment. Like you don't just have to, like, to be on the docket, you're not going to jail or getting out of jail. Like, it comes with so many more, like, responsibilities and accountability and things like that. Like, so I feel like it shows that it's not punishment. Like, if you come to the docket, you're not gonna, you're just, I don't know, it's not punishment.
Anybody else?
I think too. There's a lot of like youth in the streets and stuff. They might not have substance use, but they might be out there hustling because it's all they know or something. And I think a specialty docket for them would be great. You know, just kind of just provide them some resources and give them an opportunity. You know what I mean? They might not had they not had the docket or something.
Yeah. Haven't seen that.
You know, I know that in Montgomery County, they have a unique kind of docket in which it's pretty much males, and I think mostly African American males, between the age of like 20 to 25. I mean, those sort of just early getting into the system, trying to get them early, giving them the tools that they need early to keep them from continuing to be in the system. And that might be something that we can begin looking at some point in time if we have a judge that has the energy to do so.
I'm just pointing out that I do have another specialty docket that's coming, that we're launching, the reentry docket, the renew docket, and that is folks coming out on judicial release and back into the community. And of course, again, reentry, the most critical stage. We're just trying to do the same work to build that same success for that population. And I'm going to let Gwen answer, but I want to say to Gwen and her Judge Thomas, I think, I know there are a couple other survivors of human trafficking dockets, but I just think that that's amazing work. I think it's pretty unique and super innovative. So I've always had a great deal of respect for the innovation that they're doing on that docket.
Thanks. Yeah, I got nothing to add, guys. I mean, I think, especially in Franklin County, we're really crushing it, you know? So.
Very good, Izor. Yes, coming back to you.
This is mostly for the graduates, but was there ever a time when you were participating in the program that you saw yourself continuing to work with it after you graduated? And if so, could you tell a little bit about that thought process?
I still have the same routine that I've had for the last 2.5 years. Yeah, I still do the same thing. So I don't know, after doing it for so long, it's like you still just continue on doing the same thing. Like, I don't know, the structure, like it's a lot of structure. Yeah.
I'm blessed to be able to, when we have some RISE people coming to CBCF, I can bring them, because I definitely want to stay close to the docket, and I believe in it. I know what it's done for me, and I know what it's done for some others too, and just love being able to participate still. You know. Yeah, I'm not going nowhere.
Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to make note. I'm the RISE Corps coordinator, Shannon Bradshaw, and I knew Dustin from before when I worked at CBCF. And when the referral came across my desk, and this is just a very valuable lesson for us who work in the field, I instantly said no, because I knew him from CBCF. I remember looking at him in ISO, and he pretty much told me like he wasn't going to change. And so that's the power of these multidisciplinary teams, is because everybody else on the team said, no, come on, Shannon, you got to give him a chance. And look. So sometimes when you see the people that come back doing the same things over and over and over again, you got to keep believing that it's possible, because it is. But my question to you two is, when we're talking about compliance and we have the handbook and you see all of these things, was there a time in your journey where you realized you weren't just doing it to check the boxes? It wasn't just this extrinsic motivation to do it because the judges told you so, but was there a moment where it flipped to where it was you were doing it because you wanted it? And what was that moment?
For me, I know I needed something to take up the free time in my life. I was working 3 days a week, and checking the boxes became like I was excited to do it. I wanted to do more than just check the boxes, so I started serving a lot with my free time. Just because I wanted to be the best version of myself. So I looked forward to that next thing I had to accomplish, for the courts. And then, of course, it always got celebrated, and that was always a good feeling, too.
I would say the same, basically. I think it clicked for me that, like, I'm finally achieving things and knocking down some barriers that I was struggling with when Judge Thomas got my fines. I don't even know how to say it, but I had like $5,500 in traffic stuff or something like that, and she was able to get it all cleared. So I finally was able to get my license for the first time in like 15 years. So now, like, I get excited if I get pulled over, because I'm like, wow.
Okay, getting excited getting pulled over, huh? Well, that's not me, I can tell you that. All right, you're like, bam, here you go. All right, any other questions? Coming back to the back.
How you doing? Mr. Porter, CBCF. Yeah, my question for y'all is, what's your motivation and what's the next steps for like y'all expanding this justice system? You know what I'm saying? As far as people getting out, going back into the community. You feel me? The woman that's homeless out there looking for a place to go. Like, what's the next step?
Question.
For me, it's just being available. I can't help everyone, but the people that God puts in my life, I can help. So if anybody reaches out, just being available. You know what I mean? Whatever resources I have aren't just for me. They're to give away. You know what I mean? There's so many paths to recovery, like, you know what I mean? People just got to pick one and stick to it. And for me, it was believing in God and surrendering to God, and that changed. That's all I did different in my recovery this time, is I put God in the equation, and I believed it wholeheartedly that I could be used by God, and just being there, you know what I mean, in the moment whenever the opportunities arise. As far as on a whole in Columbus, I don't know, man. I mean, that's above my pay grade.
You said like for the women that are still struggling, I just want to have like the same. I want to give back the same resources. Like that's a big thing to me. Me and my best friend, like we manifest sober living houses and things like that. Like, you know, just I don't know. I just want to be, like you said, available. So I'm always trying to pass on resources. If something comes to me that is maybe is not beneficial to me, it's not. I just put it out there. Like I constantly post stuff about stuff. Like I just always want to remain like available as well, and then resourceful. And like I try to tell everybody to go to catch, even if they don't qualify. Like you might not meet the guy, just call. Just call. You know. But yeah.
Very good. Any other questions? Got you, then I'll come back and get you.
I just wanted to thank you guys for sharing your story and validate the work that you've done, because it shows. And it's good for, as a probation officer, to get insight on the other side, because whether we realize we're on a multidisciplinary team and we may not be at the table, we are a part of a multidisciplinary team. So I just wanted to validate you guys in the work that you're doing and let you know that I can see it. We can all see it. And congratulations.
And we have we got two questions. So I get him, now I get you. I think you'll be the last one.
Quick question. Do you guys believe that you have resources for people that are in communities that don't necessarily have to be inside of the RISE program or the CATCH program? You get what I'm saying? Like you said, housing, the basic things for people to get back on their feet when they get out of incarceration.
Yeah, good question.
So one of my long-term goals is like reentry housing, right? I would like to have some type of program for that, because there's not enough reentry housing. People come out of incarceration and they're like, hey, go to sober living. But if they're not battling with addiction at the time, it's kind of the wrong place for them, right? So I think there needs to be like more actual like reentry housing. The housing I had was for reentry housing. It was Arch, and someone threw my name into it, and that's how they got me. I wouldn't know how to have found that on my own. But
just real quick, and again, people on regular probation have many of the same resources. The biggest difference, again, is because we interact with them so frequently that many times we're able to get the resources to them a little bit quicker as well. And then we have different funding sources as well that allow us sometime to get the type of resources that unfortunately people on straight probation cannot get or cannot get quickly. But there are still opportunities just if you're on straight probation. Occasionally I'll get someone that wants a parent that will call and say they want their son, daughter in ties, but they're not in the system. And that's sometimes the frustrating thing, is that you got to wait till they get to the system before they can get advantage of some of the resources that we have.
And I just really wanted to acknowledge how important that question is, because that's the example, right? I mean, the net is not wide enough for what we're doing on specialty docket work. Even the work that probation, I mean, those are already folks in the system, right? But we want to touch people before they get in the system. And I'm certainly not here. I wish if I had the answer, right? But I don't have that answer. But what I do know is that it has to be a goal. We have to start way sooner. Early intervention is critical. We have to start way sooner. And if we're going to talk about, people in the criminal legal system, juveniles, obviously, we need to start very young. But what's so important is these conversations. And that's why this is being broadcast is because we need to we really need to message that we can't forget about people in the system. We can't give up on people in the system. We can't give up on people who are at risk of entering the system, that we have to invest in our population, right? Our greatest resources, arguably, our young people, and we have to invest. And so I'm not answering your question, but I am noting how important what you're asking is, because that is the fundamental measure of how we're performing as a society, is how we take care of folks who have the least and raise them up. And so maybe someday you'll do that work and you'll provide some of those answers, because you're in a position to give back too.
I want to thank you guys for being here. I love that you're asking questions. I love that you're here. And I was going to say the exact same thing that she ended with. There's so many gaps. And if y'all see a gap, if you see a need, I challenge you to try to figure out how you can start an initiative to meet that need. Because let me tell you something, I am sick and tired of people with money trying to create interventions and strategies and policies and programs for populations that they know nothing about. I would much rather the people who have been through it, the people who have lived experience, the people who have went without, to create the intervention, to create the policy, to create the program. So, bro, if you see a gap, figure out how to meet it. And then call us so we can partner with you.
My name is Melissa. I am also a Catch Court graduate. I graduated 8 years ago. Actually came back today to go speak over there, and I saw that Shay was on this panel. And I just want to say, she is being super humble. I have supported both of her businesses, and she is the bomb, and puts in all of that work. But to both graduates and being someone who is also like you, sometimes we can get so busy because of all of the time that's been lost in trying to make up and accomplish our goals and go hard in the paint and do all of this extra stuff to meet these expectations. But what do you do for fun?
I guess I'm a lame. I love serving. I go to the Dream Center and serve the homeless for fun. I cut hair for the homeless. I serve a community out off of Bryce Road, Commons at Chantry. I pass out groceries on Wednesday evenings. That's my free time. My Saturdays, I'm up 5 a.m. because I'm going to the church and putting together worship guides. Sunday, I'm up at 5 a.m. because I'm going to church to do hospitality before I sit down for the 11 o'clock service. That's fun to me. I don't know. I guess I'm just a cornball.
For fun, I spend a lot of time with my son when he isn't busy. I spend a lot of time with my best friend's family. That's my family. So it's like she has a really big family and I really don't. So my fun is just going over there, or being on the phone with all of them. I don't know. I don't go out. If I do, it's something short and it's with my kid and safe. First thing, I don't know, I'm a self-care type of person. I'll go eat all around the city. And then, I'll just end up at random craft malls and stuff. I don't know, I'll just be outside by myself doing stuff.
All right, having a little fun there. We have time for one more question. Who had your hand up? All right.
My name's Trey. I just wanted to congratulate y'all again too, and thank the judges. I just wanted to know, is there a program where we could take, if you're not an addict, but you want to get a trade, and you know what I'm saying? Is there something?
Mm-hmm.
CBCF has some of that.
Freeland Plumbing. We just partner with them, but you can go to there from the streets too. I think they did a presentation at CBCF the other day. But there's multiple programs like that going on. I participated in one called Building Futures for Tomorrow. That one's not a thing anymore. It was backed by the Commissioners Board, I think. But they helped me find a trade. They trained me up for it. I was going to get hired on, but I couldn't pass the drug test, and then I got locked up.
Any parting words from any of one of
I
our
just want to
dais?
say also, when you are released, is he going to be on community control, I assume? Will you be on community control when you're released? Is this a condition of probation? Parole, so not probation. So you'll have a PRC officer? All right. I would say this, you're welcome to stop by courtroom 7B when you get out, and we will have a conversation with you and see what we can do. I don't know, but because we have the reentry resources, because we have the RISE resources, even though you wouldn't be on the reentry docket formally, you're welcome to come to those hearings. You're welcome to hear other people's stories and listen to what resources we have available through justice, policy, and programming. We have those resources. And I would just say, as far as I'm concerned, you're a re-entering citizen. And before you leave here today, I don't know, he can take a card, right? We'll make sure you have a card. An open door, yes, open door. Ms. Carrillo, did you want to?
He can go up to justice policy.
Yeah.
And there's a whole re-entry board that has will assist with housing.
Okay. And we can tell you about that afterward. All right.
Okay, very good. So last parting words from everyone from our dais. Your turn. Anyone?
I guess I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to be here to share my strength and my story. I definitely want to thank Gwen for the invite. I was a nervous wreck. I still am. But, and I just want to thank Catch Court as a whole, all the special dockets. Even though, like, I'm not a part of you guys' docket, you guys still, you know, are special. And especially you, Judge Munson. Thank you. Thank you now.
Oh, you know what? Can I say something? Judge Munson, I got to give a special thanks. Thank you for saying that, Shayla. So she oversees all of our felony catch. She's the only reason we can take these cases, because the Ohio Supreme Court was like, skirt, y'all doing what? And they were like, they have to be with a specialized docket judge. And so we were like, Judge Munson, please supervise these cases. So she's amazing, and I just want to publicly thank you.
Successfully terminated you from probation.
Yes, she's
Early.
Yeah.
Yes. 2.5 years early.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dustin, did you have any final remarks?
Yeah, you know, I think you can see something in somebody and they not see it in themselves. It's, you know, how can you get someone else to see the worth in them that you see in them? You know, whenever I came in front of Shannon and Judge Munson, you know, I didn't have anything. I had a lot of felonies, a lot of just stuff that said, like, he's not worthy of this. But they could hear something in my voice. They paid attention to something other than the paperwork and the charges and the criminal history, probation history. They didn't pay attention to any of that. They paid attention to what I was telling them. And they believed in me. And that's all I needed to get out and just change it all the way up, was just for them to believe in me and give me the chance.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for being a part of this important conversation. And what I continued to hear throughout this conversation, all of you heard it, was believe. That you have to believe in the person in front of you and believe that they can make a difference. And so, you know, we try to challenge everyone to listen to someone's story before you start putting them in that box. All right? And that'll make all the difference. So let's all continue to believe in those who are struggling and that they can come through that, but also be able to help lift everyone up so that we can continue to go forward and believe in each other. And so with that, please give a round of applause to all of our participants. And the last thing, as part of our overall outreach to court, as you know, we are doing a series in the community. So our next Court in the Community event, which everyone can come to, it's a public event, will be held July 30th at the Crittenden Center at 3840 Kimberly Parkway from 6 p. to 8 p. So we'd love to see you there. We're going to have 6 of our judges there, not only speaking on the specialty dockets, but the court and the role of the court in general. And we have some resource providers there also. So we appreciate you being here. Appreciate those who are watching via the internet. And again, we appreciate all of you. Thanks for being here. Take care.